YouTube because reasons. It's good to have. It's good to have options. You don't want to be married to just one platform. So for people that just rolled in on YouTube, we're doing a Armory Chat episode 28 question and answer. We've gotten some questions from our regulars, and I'm going to go through them. I've literally been out of the office all day. I just ran in here, fired all this up. Hopefully this doesn't collapse on me, and we're going to knock these out and go on to the next thing. So when I did this, I told everybody, I said, give me your questions. I don't care what it is. I mean, it could be guns, it could be politics, it could be, whatever. Well, so some of this, they're not in any particular order. It's just the order that I've collated them, and we're gonna go through. So, all right, first question: what do you think will happen with the M4 and 5.56? Will a new caliber be adopted? No, it won't be. It won't be. A new standard service rifle caliber, in my opinion, will not happen. You might see some migration from say, with some of the precision weapons, they may move away from 338 Lapua to 300 Win Mag to not 300 Win Mag. What the one that Crane, we heard about it a couple years ago, 300. Whatever. It's one of the Uber 300s that's getting the performance of the 338. They're obviously testing and they're trying to do some stuff with 6.5, and we've all seen the 260. Whatever. I've been down this. Where they're going to change the service pistol. They're going to change the service rifle. They're going to change whatever. Now they're going to change the calibers. No, they're not. They're not going to change calibers. Okay. I know you prefer Blaser actions. What do you think? This kind of jumps. What do you think is better, Remington 700 or Winchester Model 70? Personally, for me, Winchester Model 70. In turnbolt guns, I'm a big believer of the Mauser design. I really like the Winchester interpretation with the 3-position safety on what I would call on the horizontal. I love that action. I know that there's been some changes with Remington as far as the 700, but my biggest pet peeve with the Remington 700 actions and all their derivatives is the idea that you can sling that gun across your back, hump it for a couple miles, unsling it, and the bolt's open, and shit's in your action or ammo's falling out of it. Now, I know there's a safety that I guess you can change or do something, and I've seen guys actually zip tie their bolt guns closed or tie them closed when they're humping their guns, and I just think that's dumber than a hammered rock. So Winchester Model 70 all day. The new folding XAR-17 AR, good or bad? I have no idea. I've seen about as much as everybody else. Our regulars know that I'm not a huge AR person. I look at that as something kind of like the Hudson H9. Cool. Buy it if you want it. Try it. Play with it. I mean, as a civilian, you're probably not going to hammer the thing as hard as, like a military person. Take it to a gun class. Go to your local gun school and see if it holds up. I have no idea. I don't know anything about it, but I don't see why not. If it interests you, rifles that are collapsible, that you can keep them and store them, that's always a good thing. So I think it's a neat concept. I think it's something that was these takedown rifles. I like takedown rifles. So if you've seen a lot of our videos, I love takedowns. The American market got away from takedown rifles for probably 40 or 50 years, and it's kind of good to see them getting back to that. So I think it's a good thing. I have no experience, but if you want to buy it to try it, what the hell? Why? Okay. Why is the Ariana Grande concert Killings getting more coverage than the Coptic Killings in Egypt? I think we all know the answer to that, don't we? So, yeah, take a guess. Is Uber a Ponzi scheme? Yeah, okay, that's an unexpected question. From an investment standpoint, I have heard people much smarter than me say that it does appear to be a Ponzi scheme from an investment side. I mean, from a user side, if you push the Uber app and somebody shows up, and great, I guess it works. Let's see here. I was wondering if you could maybe do a video or podcast on carrying in a vehicle mount holsters, drawbacks, advantages, and that kind of thing. I have a lot of experience with carrying firearms in and around vehicles. A lot of experience, like 20 years experience, like for real. Like, I mean, I've been in fights in and outside of cars with guns. So yeah, maybe. Let's see here. Here's another political one. This is for the people, our international readers of our blog. Did Donald Trump yell at the Palestinian Authority leader Abbas? I think it's Mahmoud Abbas. My understanding is my contacts in Israel are yes, that did happen. He did yell at him, called him a liar, or he accused him of lying. And actually, one of our regular contributors on John 1911, who is a dual citizen, he has confirmed that independently as well, that apparently Trump did yell at Abbas, the Palestinian leader, for lying to him. What do you think of ported handguns? Thinking about getting a 17C, is that good or bad? I personally do not like ported handguns for carry. They're not my style, just from shooting from retention. And just because what can happen, like, stuff get in your eyes or your face, and it may not be that big of a deal with 9mm. 10mm, some of these horse rounds. I was around a guy who he was shooting a ported, it was a 357 SIG, and this thing, man, it was blasting everybody. So personally, no. I know there's people that do it, and I guess they've come back in style. The best thing I can suggest you do is, based on your body shape and size and the distance of, if you shoot from retention, the thumb pectoral index, is to actually test it and see if it blasts you in the face. You have to figure it out for yourself. I don't do ported carry guns. Why don't 3-inch 1911s work? I recall you guys saying negative things about the officer 1911s. Why? The 3-inch 1911s, officer size 1911s, do work. The problem is they run a lot faster than your 5-inch guns, and so what ends up happening is the slide's moving faster. There's more perceived recoil into the whole system. So things like springs and mag feed lips and the timing of stuff gets so out of it's a magazine that'll work in a full-size gun, or something that's on the edge in a 3-inch gun it'll fall apart. So even things like grip and, quote, the famous limp wristing, that is always an issue with those guns. If you're not a 1911 aficionado, the smaller the 1911, the more effort and care and particularness you need to pay to make sure that thing's running at all times. So if you're just like, hey, I have a 1911, kind of like I have a SIG because I have a SIG, not because I'm a SIG fanboy, unlike Freeze. If there was a SIG out there that needed as much care as a 1911 gets, I personally wouldn't be that invested in it to want to buy one. So hopefully that answers your question. I don't know if it does or not. What do you think of the clip draw? That's a very specific question. I don't even know if people even still use those anymore. Clip draws, by today's standards, clip draws, they're kind of shit. They had their place back in the day before everybody had all their Kydex. Every town in America now has a butcher, a baker, and Kydex holster maker, and you can have. I'm wearing appendix, right now. So there's so many options now with quality holsters that something like a clip draw isn't really a first choice anymore. My advice on a clip draw would be something like, I used to use them on a 1911 because 1911 has 3 safeties, grip safety, thumb safety, trigger. I actually had one. I had a holster fitted so I could I could put the clip gun with the clip draw in it because you can't really, clip draws don't come on and off easily on 1911s. So I could holster it with the clip draw, and in an emergency, or if I need to go, dump a holster and kind of carry kind of goofy, and I'm not recommending anybody do that. It was a different time. Clip draw could come in handy, but like a clip draw, like I've seen like clip draws for like Glocks and these striker fire guns. Hell the fuck no. I mean, hell the fuck no. You're gonna shoot your dick off. And I hate it when people tell me that when I carry IWB. But a clip draw on a modern striker gun, no, that's a no-go. I like clip draws, not for that. When we start selling t-shirts again. This is John 1911, john1911.com. It's all about shooting guns and having fun. Before we were tacticaltshirts.com, and it was all about shooting guns and having fun. We are rebranding. We have rebranded. We have not quite really gotten to the point where we're comfortable doing merchandise yet. That's coming. I don't. Even if to make it clear, even if we do start doing some merchandising again, it won't be in the same format of just like t-shirts. We would be doing we're not just going to be, quote, a t-shirt company, because, we're really gun guys over here. So we would do other stuff. We're still discussing it and figuring it out. So, I mean, if you're sitting at home waiting right now to buy a t-shirt, I can't. I wouldn't. I'd give that up for right now. We're not in a position that we're going to be offering t-shirts in the reasonable future. So hopefully that answers your question. Galil Ace, thumbs up or thumbs down? I have no experience with the Galil Ace. I messed with one of the pistol versions in down south. I don't know, last year, I guess, sometime. It had to have been last year. I have no experience with them, but I've looked at them, and I think they are going to be the cat's meow. I think that's probably going to be the best AK ever made. And so if you want to get a Galil Ace, I will probably get a Galil Ace. I am not a big fan of the AK. For me, I have a lot of problems with it. I'm not a big fan. The Rocker Mag isn't my favorite. I hate the sights on most AKs. They're crappy sights, and the safety, and it just, those 3 things together. And a lot of times with just, they can be for like shorter little guys, and I'm not a short little guy. It just hasn't been my favorite gun. But the Galil Ace, I think, my prediction, I think that gun is going to go down as the best AK ever made. But I could be wrong. I'm not anybody important. So when we get one, it'll show up here on the thing. Let's see here. Here we go. I have a key mod 4-end. Should I change to M-Lock or leave it? Seriously, dude? You're a civilian. Leave it. Key mod M-Lock, no one cares. I mean, look, I guess I have to step back here. A lot of the 4-ends, when you've gotten away from traditional military GI 4-ends on these rifles, you want to have a way to mount with some rails to mount some accessories. Okay. Then you're getting into 1913 pick rails, and then you're getting into 12, 3, 6, and 9, and so you got 800 feet of rail on these guns, and they're getting beefier, and they're getting heavier, and front end heavier, and it's just getting and it's just one of those goofy things. So the key mod and the M-Lock system, they're both lightweight and they're low profile. And so let's have a reality check here, straight up. You're a civilian, all right? You live in the United States. Most people that watch our videos live in the United States. If you're just mounting a light on your gun, just keep the goddamn key mod. It doesn't matter. I mean, you don't have to doing mounting one of the lasers or the infrared lasers or co-witnessing, like these offset sighting devices or SIMRADs and all this weight. Dude, you're a civilian. Hang a light off your goddamn gun and just march on. I mean, if you have look, if you want to buy, look, going forward and you have a choice, and you've got one AR-15 that's got M-Lock, another AR-15 that's got key mod, you know, maybe you want to go to the M-Lock, but maybe if you're a civilian, maybe you want to tell the dealer, hey, that key mod is shit, and because people smarter than me say it's shit, so you need to give me a discount on that gun, if all you're going to do is hang a light off of it anyway. Again, stop chasing craziness, and you're just buying gear of some cool guy, and you're not living in the real world. I mean, I would not be switching that unless you're on like a SWAT team and you've got partners and partner tactics and you're lighting each other's targets and designating. Nah, just forget about it. Why don't you like 300 Blackout? I get this all the time, and I'm not going to go into too much because I don't want to get too much hate. But the reason I'm even, quote, answering this question for the 100th time is it gives me an opportunity to say something about 300 Blackout positive. B&T, so it's Brugger and Tomei. Henri Tomei, the famous gun runner. Well, I won't get into that. I just think it's funny his name's on that company's name. B&T has announced a little mini bolt action, integrally suppressed 300 Blackout, bolt gun that they're going to bring into the U.S. And I think that gun is badass all day long. That is a good application of 300 Blackout for a civilian in the real world. If you're not a guy that's, doing entry, my argument against 300 Blackout is more just about the world I live in. If I was on a tactical team and I needed to shoot 30 rounds into somebody across a room, uber quiet, or we all die if they hear me do this, 300 Blackout's your way to go. Otherwise, all these kids run around buying these 300 Blackout ARs, the expensive ammo. They're not even suppressing them. They're getting supersonic ammo. I just don't understand the payoff. But 300 Blackout suppressed on a short little bolt action gun, that's no different than buying a 6.5 284 or buying a 300 Norma Magnum or buying any other boutique calibers and using it for what its purpose is. I'll buy one of those B&T 300 Blackout guns. I'll tell you what, that may have just bumped the Delisle carbine off my dream list, because the 300 Blackout, the Delisle carbine's a 45 ACP integrally suppressed gun. I'm going to do some research and figure out which is quieter. This integrally suppressed 300 Blackout B&T rifle or the Delisle 45, and they're going to be about the same price, and it's going to be 2 tax stamps. I may end up actually getting the 300 Blackout after all, so there you go. What do you think of the HMG Sturmgewehr? Cool. I think it's awesome. I want to buy one. I'd like to get one. Hey Edwin, hi from Puerto Rico. Thanks for checking in. I would like to get one when they start shipping. There's going to be a rush. There's a lot of people ahead of us. We don't have an order in for one. There's going to be some problems with that gun. I mean, not again anything against HMG. It's just it's not there. That's a very ambitious project, and that is not a gun that you're going to buy and you're going to go to quote gun school and probably at least generation 1 and be totally happy with the results. That's a gun for the aficionados and the gun collectors. So I kind of live on both sides of the world. I'm a shooter. I'm an avid shooter and a tactical shooter, but we do have a reference collection, and I think that's a neat gun. What caliber would we get? I probably would get 5.56, maybe, just because it's a more common caliber. They've got the gun would work with regular mags, so that would be cool. But they've even got those Sturmgewehr looking mags supposedly. I know there's some people that maybe the 7.62 by 39 might look a little bit more Kurtzy, 8mm Kurtz. Some people might. I would never get an 8mm Kurtz. Again, they would almost be like the 300 Blackout argument. Why do I want to shoot 30 or 40 rounds? I guess it'd be 40 for Sturmgewehr of 8mm Kurtz Yeah, but I guess the counter to my counter would be, it's you know, it's a collectible gun. It's a reference gun. It's a neat gun. I don't know. I guess maybe I can make the argument for 8mm Kurtz. I'm probably gonna go with the in 5.56 just because. But you know, there you go. What do you think of the Hudson H? What do you think of the Hudson H9? Same thing. Neat gun. I'd like to get one. I hope. I wish Hudson the best. I personally think the Hudson design is going to, like, the world's going to crack in half, and all of a sudden, John Moses Browning is going to come down and bless, and this is going to be the greatest thing ever? No, because it's still going to be a 9mm gun that's either going to recoil. It's going to either recoil, unlock, one of like 3 ways. So, but it's an interesting gun. I'd like to have one. It'd be cool if they work out to be like super reliable and actually became like, if you're kind of like Harley or something, like Buy American, and it's a reliable gun, and maybe you trade off a little bit of weight. I don't know. Neat gun. What do you think of the NFA legal shorty shotguns, Mossberg, Remington, etc.? No, I don't like those guns. I don't like them at all. I don't think they're. They're a specialized gun. I'm not saying they don't have their place, and I certainly can understand if you wanted to, have because you didn't want to deal with NFA and you had a reason to have a shorty shotgun, or maybe you wanted to get one on the cheap and then register it as a shorty shotgun, and that way you don't have to cut the barrel. That's kind of cool. I have no plans of ever buying one. Again, if Freeze runs across one that's like super, super, super cheap, what the hell, why not? Okay, let's see. Rick Kendall, say hi, Batman. Yeah, whatever. I have a joke there, but I'm not going to tell it. Let's see here. And what is a few more questions, and we're going to about wrap this up. So, and it was, I'm going to go through here and find them. Just bear with me for a second. Here we go. Here's the questions on Facebook. Here we go. Would you rather take firearms tactics instruction from our NRA certified instructor or a Krav Maga instructor? So let me read that again, because that's a very specific question. Would you rather take firearm tactics instruction from an NRA certified instructor or a Krav Maga instructor? Damn. See, that's like a trick question. And it is and it's not, because my default is Krav Maga. NRA is don't shoot yourself in the foot, don't shoot other people, don't, beware every gun is loaded, don't, beware what's behind your target, all that kind of stuff. But that's NRA guys. That's not, you don't get any real instruction from NRA guys. I don't mean that to disparage the NRA. What level NRA? Let's see, there's life member. Then there's something, I'm 2 levels above life member, so whatever that is. So I've given the NRA a lot of money. So I'm not shitting on the NRA. I like the NRA. I don't rip on the NRA like some people do. I just Krav Maga. But you're getting into, like, what's your definition of tactics? Is because most people don't teach tactics. You're talking to NRA instructors, typically firearms safety, not really a tactics guy. Let's say your NRA instructor is a former member of the 75th Ranger Regiment. He knows immediate action drills, and how to break, for to deal with, if you're walking on an ambush or L-shaped ambush or all these other things. Okay, that guy's going to be better probably than the Krav Maga guy who may know a little bit more about, actual fighting with guns at true gunfight distances. That's a tough question to answer. It's going to depend more on the people who individual people. So, but I would default to Krav Maga people. Just sorry. Ed Crawford, will anyone pay for the previous administration's felonies in regards to the FISA court orders? And what is the best milsurp guns on this market to collect and shoot now as far as pricing and availability? First part of your question. When Eric Holder gets indicted and goes to jail for Fast and Furious, and I don't want to hear about this bullshit linebacker stuff under Bush, the Justice Department flooded guns into Mexico to create an international crisis, to kill a bunch of Mexicans so they could blame it on Americans so they could pass anti-gun laws. And nobody's talking about that. And that is truthfully even more serious than like Hillary Clinton's crimes. Because with the exception of maybe Seth Rich, Eric Holder killed 200 Mexicans. And then nothing's ever come up of that. So that's all I have to say about that. Best guns to collect right now. Man, that's a tough one. I mean, I'm a person of a certain age, and man, I mean, you were like all these guns from like the 80s, and even in the 90s. I mean, like we never saw World War II stuff get really expensive until after Saving Private Ryan. I would say a lot of these guns that there's no way they're going to be made anymore. I would, there's obviously all the quote milsurp guns. Those are going up in value. And yeah, some people will repop those guns, but there'll always be repops as opposed to originals like the M1 carbines. Like the original World War II M1 carbine, whether you like or dislike the M1 carbine, I'd rather have a real one than one from that company in Dayton, Ohio that's repopping them. I just being honest. So I think the cat's probably out of the bag on a lot of the 70s milsurp guns because, America, we were kind of like this AR-centric country, I'd say since about 9/11. It's been ARs or nothing. If you don't run ARs, you're a loser. And that may be true, but a lot of these, like these weird, guns from the 70s and 80s that maybe nobody really gave them a lot of thought because they weren't really up the, they couldn't configure them. They weren't like Mr. Potato Head guns like ARs are now. But, like the, FNC guns, those are gone. Oh my God, have you guys seen what's happened to FNC guns? The FNC semi-automatic and fully automatic guns just over 12 months? I mean, it's insane. I saw FNC guns, I think a year ago for $8,000, and now I think last week they were 14 for fully automatic. FNC semi-autos were mid to high 2s, touching 3. Now I'm seeing like just in the past 6 months, they're going to be touching 4. The Beretta AR-70 is another gun. I tell you, you know what? There's a gun that maybe I would maybe look into, like those SIG, the SIG repops that didn't get a lot of guns that don't get a lot of good press right away. But then later on, when they're gone, they start going up in value. I think there's still some opportunities there. I think the FS2000 is a gun that's starting to go up in price because nobody really likes the bullpup, and it's got the toilet seat, and clearing a malfunction out of one of those is a nightmare. And FN's not really bringing those in the U.S. anymore, and you see those creeping up. The SIG 551A1s, the American SIG repop of the 550. Those guns, you can get those for nothing. And, maybe you'll see, I know there's a company that's bringing in some of these, quote, real SIG guns, but man, they're $4,000. Whatever. I mean, it's just not, but you can get one of these guns with, they're basically, a copy of the 550 with the 550 magazines and the features, and, you get that experience. I'm curious what those guns will be going for in 10 years. Right now, they're shit guns. Nobody likes those guns. Everybody's SIG is all about their ARs. Their piston, all their piston ARs. Those guns, you couldn't give those guns away. I bet you in the future, those guns are going to go up too. Let's see here. I bet you one day the Faxon guns, if Faxon ever stops making their guns, if Faxon, because I don't know, I've had minimal contact with Faxon. I I mean, I've had one conversation with the people from Faxon. I have no idea what their business is like, but I do know that they are pretty heavy in the AR market, and I can't help but wonder if in the future they decide to go where the money is, and they're like, the Faxon is it the ARAC? Yeah, I'm looking at one up here I'm in the rifle room. You know, they stop making that gun, that gun's going to go sky high in price. Let's see here. Like the Daewoo guns have all gone up. I mean, you know, these guns that. Well, I tell you what. Ed. Here's a good plan. Get on Gunbroker. Decide what feature or terminology you want to put in for, you know, to find a gun. You run your searches and then find guns that nobody's done videos on yet, or no one's done a video on in a while, because there's a direct correlation between certain 2 or 3 or 4 of these YouTube channels start running videos on these guns, and all of a sudden, wham, these things go sky high and they all spike in price. So don't watch a video, then go to Gunbroker and try to buy a gun, because you're going to get hammered. So that's about best I can give you on that one. Steve, women, I've heard it said you can't live with them and you can't live without them. I get the first part because it can be tough, but since I've never given it a good try, I can't speak to the second part. Any insight is appreciated. Is it a good try? Any insight? You know, I have taken the Robert Frost. You know, Robert Frost is, you know, there's a famous poem by Robert Frost, and he, you know, goes down a path and he comes to the fork in the road, and he took the path less traveled by and has made all the difference. I mean, that is definitely something you could apply to me personally. I'm certainly nobody to give any advice on personal stuff like that. So the best thing I can say is, you know, don't settle. Maybe don't set yourself up for unrealistic expectations, but don't change who you are to try because maybe you're desperate to get into a relationship or whatever, because, you know, you get involved with the wrong woman, and you know, it can break you. I mean, it can make the difference between some of the most successful people in life or the least successful. Like, you know, you end up on an episode of Cops with, you know, no shirt on, going, I ain't scared to go to jail, just because. I wonder how many of those guys married the wrong woman or hooked up with the wrong woman. A bad woman will fuck your whole life up. So, you know, be who you are and find somebody that accepts you for who you are and not tries to change you. And I think that'll probably work out. So it's kind of weird. I'm even having this conversation. I'll move on off this one. Let's see here. Nick, offset BUIS or QD mount for glass or both. Daily carry patrol rifle. Loophole VXR patrol 1.25 to 4. So I'm assuming that's... Okay, so I don't know if this is 2 questions or 1 question. I don't know how to answer that one. That one's going to depend more on you. I personally am not a big sight offset guy. I think it's just a mental thing. But I have seen people run those like sons of bitches. I mean, it's just, you know, a little magnification on their glass, some offset irons, and I've seen people to them. I mean, it's, you know, it works fantastic. It's not really my bag. I, like, for example, on my quote, you know, my SCAR, I run an aim point, one of the little ones. I can't remember each micro. I can't remember H1T1. I can't keep them straight. It's one of the little ones. So here's my. It has a QD. It has a QD mount on it, but it's on there so tight. I would have to like wang on that thing. I mean, I couldn't flip that thing off in the middle of a. I mean, if a theoretical gunfight, I couldn't quick detach mine because I need it to be secured. But here's the dirty little secret with these red dots. I mean, let's say your red dot dies or your optic dies. I mean, you still have basically a giant ghost ring, and just, you know, the dot's not there, but just hold whatever you were doing before, put it in the center, keep doing it until, you know, it stops doing what you want that person to stop doing. I mean, it's not. I don't know. You know, you can go either way. If you like them, if they work for you, I wouldn't worry so much about like snags and all that. I mean, maybe if you're carrying it, and maybe you should offset them on one side versus the other for how you sling a rifle across your back. But for me personally, I just use red dot as a giant ghost ring. I've never, nope, take that back. I've had some cheap ones fail. I've never had a quality red dot die, so take that for what it's worth. I have never had an aim point die. The only aim points I've ever seen die were turned out to be somebody had bought counterfeit aim points and didn't know it. Do you think there's any hope for California? No. I think California's going to go bankrupt, and I think the argument for having the rest of us pay for it could likely cause open insurrection. And I think the crash of California should be something that should be prepared for in this country more than, you know, like the zombie apocalypse, because, you know, there could be lots of, because California, if you bail them out, they're not going to change. They're not going to stop doing their stupid shit. And I don't mean like, you know, some of the social stuff. I mean like just the way they spend money. You know, they're just, you know, they're I mean, I haven't looked at their civil service pension plans, but I mean, it's just a nightmare. And they intentionally just, I mean, their attitude is so much like Germany and Merkel as far as, well, you know, we don't have to pay our 2% for NATO because there's America. And it's just like, fuck you guys. You know, I mean, that's not going to end well. Let's see here. Gary's a regular. How bad did I F up buying a polymer 80% plastic AR lower? I don't think you effed up at all. I think that's the future. I mean, look at all these guns that are coming out now with polymer lowers. I mean, I want a gun, a quote AR tac rifle, to be as light as can be. I mean, I'm not authoritative enough to say one brand or this is more durable than another, because that's where you're getting into some issues. But I wouldn't mind having a polymer lower AR, like one of those 80% lowers. Scott Mayer did an article for us on John 1911, and I had never really paid attention to him until basically it's a piece of plastic, and it comes with a plastic jig, and you set it up in a drill press, and you just take the drill and you just hog out some areas, and I think maybe a couple pinholes, and it's got this jig. I mean, it's good to go. And I would be really curious to see how light I could get. I take a polymer AR lower and some cheap ass key mod upper that somebody's dying to get rid of because they suck now, which is going to be lightweight. Put them together with a lightweight stock and just some, like a decent lightweight red dot and even no irons. Just try to see how lightweight I could get that gun. That would be, I don't think you screwed up at all. I'm probably going to get one day. 380 versus 9mm as a viable self-defense round. I will always go 9mm over 380. I have some biases against 380 because back in the day, this is my personal experience. This isn't if you make 380s or you worship 380s. As a young man, as a young gun aficionado, it became a running joke. I never saw a 380 gun that could actually finish an entire magazine. It was just something weird. I mean, again, I didn't know as much as I know now, but I have it burned in my brain that 380 guns don't run, and I avoid them. Now, there are people that do a lot of ballistics testing, and there are some 380 rounds in ballistics gelatin that are supposedly getting up almost to some of the 9mm territory and performance. So if you had to go 380, it's not as bad as it used to be. It is a viable round, just not my first choice. I would go 9mm, especially now the 9mm guns, man. Some of these pocket rockets, Jesus. I mean, it's like basically a straw with a 9mm in it. I mean, how much smaller can these guns get? I mean, I know they all suck to shoot, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're just married to a 380 or like there's a gun you like, run that gun. But I don't see you having to choose You have to have a 380 versus a 9mm. I don't like a size. I don't even see that. So yeah, if I'm wrong, let me know. Greg Allman is dead at 69. Got to go listen to Midnight Rider. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to get in so much trouble, and Freeze is going to punch me in the face. I barely know who Greg Allman is, and I don't know what Midnight Rider is. Off the top of my head, I'm sure if somebody plays the song, I recognize the tune, but I'm not a big music person, so I really didn't know who he was. So, all right. That's basically going to be it. I think there's some people that have been chiming in while we've been going live. Let's see here. 380s don't run. Yeah, I know, that's my personal experience. So, all right, we've been going for a while, so we don't do these Q&As that often. So hopefully, if you decide to stick through all the way to the end, I appreciate it. We'll put out maybe about a month or so. We'll do another Q&A, and we'll get the questions up. So if you like this kind of content, or you want to see what's going on regarding our shooting and traveling and all that kind of stuff, please feel free to check out our blog page. It's john1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. And just remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. And everybody, thank you for your time, and have a good night.